What's up, everybody? Clinton Fauché here, Front Porch Chronicles, and we have
Albert Chavez.
And look, we're doing a special Valentine's edition. Albert said, hey, we need a woman's point of view. I said, okay, we ran through the list of what we needed. We needed a boss chick. We needed a diva. We needed someone attractive. And we needed someone who ultimately was going to speak the truth. And I said, I know the queen herself, and we have her on today. Sam, thank you so much for being on for this special Valentine edition. And so let's hop right into it. So I was telling Albert,
yeah, we had a bunch of questions going up. We know Valentine's Day is really special, and everyone likes to make a huge deal about it. And some people are players, some people are in relationships, and whatever person you are right now for Valentine's Day, we were curious because we were asking some of our colleagues, and we were like, do people just prepare for Valentine's Day just to get a quick hookup? Do they try to basically hit up those people on their DMs and ask around? I know you're in a relationship, so we want to keep it subtle, but do girls and guys, do they go and swipe up on your story just to try to like get a date just for Valentine's Day?
To me personally?
Or just in general?
No, because on my page, they know better.
Just in general, do girls go and
Absolutely.
just look out just for Valentine's Day just because it's one of the biggest holidays of the year?
Absolutely, of course. I think that not just because it's Valentine's Day, I feel like people will find any excuse to, right? Why not the holiday of love? So, or use it as the excuse of love.
Truth. And it's funny because this is always something that is brought up, cuffing season, Valentine's, all of these things. It's always brought up and put on women as to everybody's like, oh, women only do this and women don't. Cap. Dudes, same thing. They want somebody for Valentine's. Nobody wants to be alone for Valentine's Day. Nobody wants to be cuffing season, Christmas, all of those types. And guys want to floss or flaunt, and they definitely are down to try to use somebody, even if they don't long-term see theirself being with that person. They are definitely okay with dating somebody only for Valentine's Day so that they could floss and then use that to leverage after Valentine's.
It's kind of funny. Guys will do whatever they want to try to like make it happen too. Mm-hmm. So what's like one of yours? Do you have any crazy like Valentine stories that like you were like, oh shoot, last minute this is, or like you're trying to, or even with your boyfriend, is there something that like you have to have whenever Valentine's Day comes around?
Not really. I feel like with my boyfriend in particular, I mean, we've known each other for a very long time. We've been together for a very long time. So at this point, I mean, we try to keep it simple because if I'm being real, like he does spoil the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So like, I'm one of those people like every day's Valentine's Day. Yeah, for real. Like for real.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's really sweet. That's, one of the things I call him my sweet man. So he's really good about like, I mean, he'll, like I said, he always take me out. So like for Valentine's Day, he'll switch it up. He'll cook for me, Of course, he does like the flowers. He'll make me, chocolate covered strawberries. Unless there's like a specific something or a specific place that I want, he'll go out of his way, of course. But like the bigger presents and stuff, I personally, like I said, this dude, he loves his name brands, his stuff. We talk about his sneakerheads. He loves the jewelry, all that. So it's like, I don't want another reason for him to spend anymore. You know what I mean? As far as any stories, I mean, I don't do anything last minute because I don't plan anything,
Yeah, you like to be treated like a queen for sure.
Of course,
yeah.
yes.
That's a given. With
yeah,
her,
it's an expectation.
It's unacceptable anything less. You have to know her personality to definitely know. Anything else would be unacceptable. But it's funny because, like we were talking, and a friend of ours, we were talking, and she was like, we were like, hey, this, and this. And she was like, she basically said like, hey, I don't think I would resonate with, because we were telling her about what the show was going to be about. She was like, yeah, my boyfriend, like, I have to remind him to get me gifts, and I have to remind him to do this, this, and this. And I was like, I kind of low key was shook, because like I couldn't imagine, like, I'm one of those weird, hopeless romantic type dudes. So I'm the same way. Like, I'm overly about that stuff and treating a queen like a queen. And so it was just crazy to hear her say, like, hey, I have to remind. So it's crazy that, like, sometimes in relationships, and we were joking because at the office, I was talking to them, and some of the girls, we were all having like a conversation, and I said it's always a trick when a female says, hey, the holidays coming up or whatever, you don't really have to get me anything, yada, yada, yada. And I was like,
what does that really mean?
Yeah. Why even say that?
Thank you. Like, that's such cap. Like,
I feel like women should never say stuff like that ever. Like, you should never dumb anything down or set the bar lower. Just let it play out how it needs to be. You know, even if you don't have expectations, good, but then don't say that. Just let it be, and then, you know, hope for the best.
Yeah, hope for the best. And here's the thing. This is the problem that I have. Like, people don't set boundaries, right? And they're not.
We've talked about this.
Yes. People are not. Like, I'm the most real person, and I'm like that with everything. So, like, if you do something and we're in a relationship, I am very adamant about my emotions. I'm very adamant about my feelings, because I feel like those are things that have to be talked about in a relationship. Because if you don't talk about these things, if you don't set expectations, if you don't have like clear conversations about expectations or whatever, how do you expect the person to know?
That's the hard part. Yeah, people, I mean, we're not mind readers too. Like, you have to be able to communicate that too.
100%.
It's like almost, even with the, hey, don't get me any gifts, that literally is an expectation of, I don't want anything. And so when you communicate that with your significant other or boyfriend or new sneaky link or whatever, it's like, you have to be able to say, like, this is what I want, or at least just a small gift, and just lay it all out on the field right then and there, or else what are you going to expect?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah. Set clear expectations, and also set clear boundaries, because here's the thing, woman or man, and I've been on both sides of it, because
Both women and man?
No, definitely not that. No, no switch
clarification.
I don't know. I got.
You said it. I'm just making sure.
Strictly clitly.
Okay.
And so look, don't make me take you to church on a Monday. So look, so here's what I'm saying. Like, I've been on both ends of exceeding a woman's expectations and falling short of what her expectation was. And it also makes you feel a certain type of way, because you know when somebody is putting off a vibe, and then you're asking and you're like, hey, I'm the type of person that, again, I am very clear. Like, hey, what is it? This is what I'm thinking for this. What do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? And like, tell me, like, if you're like, hey, you know what? I don't want to go here. I want to go there. You're not going to hurt my feelings, but I don't want you to accept something just because. I want to please you the same way I would want if you come to me and say, hey, you know what? Do you want these Jordans, or do you want this, or do you want that, or do you want this? Like, be very clear.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you can't learn in a relationship somebody if they don't teach you. And that I think is a huge problem, because I could tell when this girl was telling me, I could tell she felt a certain way about having to remind her boyfriend
Right.
to get her gifts. And I could only imagine her thought process, because deeper than that is, as a woman or as somebody in a relationship, it probably is triggering with traumas or whatever, because then you think like, why is my friend getting all of these gifts? Why is she getting all of these things or getting this treatment and I'm not? Why am I having to remind my boyfriend this? And it's almost like she's settling. So it's like, I could see where long term that would taint her if this is not the relationship, which I'm going to be just clear with you 100. If you as a man have your woman saying she has to remind you to get you gifts, you're failing.
Yeah, you're already behind the
Bro,
eight ball.
you're not behind the 8 ball. You're failing. You are, if you don't have like your woman feeling like she's significant or that she's worthy of being able to be treated a certain way,
Okay.
you're behind the 8 ball. You're failing in that relationship. But then in the same sense, do you feel like from a woman's point of view that she's failing herself by not letting him know that?
Maybe yes and no. I want to take it a little bit deeper because maybe he's failing in that particular aspect. But I was going to say, I don't know who this person is or how well you know her or them. What, do you know her love language? Because that's a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, what if like getting gifts is not her love language? I am a spoiled diva queen, all that. Anybody who knows me knows that that's like my expectations. So my man, everybody around me, so on and so forth. Great. But getting gifts is not my love language. That's very bottom, right?
Yes.
And so it's weird how that translates in action.
Yeah.
Okay. So what if that's something that's he's learned in their dynamic that like, oh, that's not important. So because she said it, now, you know, that's not really something that we focus on in our relationship. Like I just mentioned in mine.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day is not something where like we go all out.
Yeah.
We just go all out.
Yeah.
Go all
You do
out.
it
Right?
All the time.
Yeah. Now, like you said, she goes Instagram, whatever, to her friends. She's comparing, contrasting, and now she's getting her feelings hurt. That's where I say sometimes as a person, whether you're a man, woman, whatever, you got to self-reflect and understand, okay, is it something within me? Is it distractions around me? You know, maybe taking it a little bit deeper, not just, you know, you're failing in the relationship because you keep forgetting to get a V-Day gift.
Well, would not even be that. I could tell, and I'm very intuitive. I could tell from the way that she told me.
Is the bitterness?
Yeah, there's
It
something
wasn't
else.
bitter. I could tell her heart was hurt.
Oh.
And so I low-key felt bad. And I came and actually had a conversation with him about it because I was like, man, because this girl is a very, like, she has a very loving, caring aura about herself. And I could tell when she told me her heart was hurt.
Okay.
And so that's where it's hard because you need to be very open and transparent with that person, because at the end of the day, not being transparent with that person only ends up hurting you.
Yeah.
Because what happens is you start resonating with these feelings of inadequacy. And if you had traumas growing up and you got daddy issues or you got other issues and whatever, you sprinkle in, now this is just another man that is telling me that I'm not worthy enough of his time,
right,
or I'm not worthy enough. And it wasn't just like gifts, because she didn't say gifts, but she was like doing anything.
Just acknowledging it. Yeah. It being special. Right.
Yeah, like that, you could tell that her heart was hurt. So that's where I said, like, I used to hold on to a lot of things because I was unhealed with a lot of traumas. So I accepted bottom level behavior from people that I was with. I was a people pleaser. I was the person that if I had $1,000 in the bank, I was going to spend $928 on you for Valentine's Day. and only have $78 and figure out what I was going to do because I was so adamant about making you feel special that ultimately I was willing to put myself in a situation. So once I healed and I learned, now I'm very transparent with my feelings, emotions, like to the point of where like, hey, you know what, you said this and I could see where you can't like, you have to take everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Like you can't be like, oh, you said this and it hurt my feelings, so I don't like it. No, like, hey, when you said this, I'm clear and transparent to where I'll be like, hey, when you said this, I had this trauma.
Yeah.
So that you can relate to that and say, hey, he's not just being picky. This is something that digs at him from chaos that he had to deal with. So that's where like, I feel like people need to be more transparent in relationships because ultimately, like I said, it only hurts you in the end.
Yeah, I guess that's a good question too. It gets thrown out all the time with your relationship or just in general with significant others. Like when a guy comes to you about his emotions, do you encourage that? Like how do you make sure that comes out?
Absolutely.
A lot of times women say like, hey, I want you to be emotional. And then on the back end, it can backfire sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go what?
Yeah,
No, I was going to say absolutely. First of all, I love that. I think that is like one of the biggest or sexiest traits that a man can have is being in tune with his emotions and being able to express it. Now, I will say I can be very, hot-headed, expressive, emotional myself. And so there are times, right, where I definitely encourage it. And that's something that him and I constantly talk about is having a safe space between him and I to be able to open up about that stuff. But it's not to say that we're perfect, and there are times where he'll try to open up to me and I'll take offense to it or I'll, have a defense mechanism or whatever it may be. And I feel that and my response is not so kind or sweet or patient. Right. And so, I think that it is important to be able for a man to be able to open up the same way a woman should be able to allow him to and create that space and vice versa, of course. But
so follow up on that, on the countermeasures. Again, not trying to dive too much in your relationship, but just in general, like you seem like you're very self-aware or you at least try to ask questions about yourself. Like, hey, how can I improve? So is there countermeasures that you do, backstops or whatever to if plan A doesn't work and let's say you react a certain way, how do you ensure to follow up with that and say, hey, like next time this will not happen? Is there like something that you guys do to like ask you like, hey, like I need you to listen right now. I need to like have support. Is there another way that you do?
Exactly that. I mean, there's times where whether it be both of us or one or the other, if we're like too emotional about whatever the subject is, there are times we'll have to just say straight up, like, we're going to pause this right now. I'm too emotional for that.
Process the emotion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to like proceed for the next few minutes, few hours, few days, whatever it may be. And you're going to sit on this. I'm going to sit on this. We're not going to address it. We're going to continue as normal and then we'll come back to it. And we always make it a point because there was a while where we would say that and then not readdress it.
Sweep
and then
it under the rug.
Boom.
That's what I hate. I cannot stand to sweep things under the rug. One of the biggest things that I learned is to take a step back and process the emotion rather than being reactive, because I grew up in a very aggressive household.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? If I don't like something, we need to work this out right now. Like, and so again, once you become in tune, you kind of see like, hey, you know what? So I say it a lot. Hey, you know what? I need to take a step back, process what's going on, let my emotions, my mind settle, and then let's readdress it. Let me ask you this. When you guys, when you talk about, and this is to both of you, when you talk about things in a relationship, do you try to, I know for me, like how I was saying, have you tried or do you relate the emotion to what it is to your partner? So like, for instance, at times, because I've been sexually assaulted, whenever you impede certain things or press on me with certain things when I say, no, I'm not comfortable with that, and you just do it anyway, or you put me in a situation, it makes me feel like I'm being like you're making me do something I don't want to do. And because I was sexually assaulted, going back, it was something that I didn't want to do, but I didn't have a voice then. I was a kid. So I didn't have a voice. So now, like, I try to relate things to, like, I say, hey, when you do this, it pulls back a scab from this situation that happened. And the reason that I do that is so that it's relatable to that person, so that they understand, like, hey, I said this or I did this. And how, like you said before, like, it's easy. We get caught up in what we think things are supposed to be. So, like, we're like, oh, well, that person is getting upset over that. Well, I mean, it's really nothing. It's kind of like this. So that's one of the things that I did. And it kind of really helped me relay that message to somebody so that they can kind of, do you do that? How is your, like, whenever something bothers you or offends you with the person you're dating or you're in a relationship or whatever, how do you try to convey that?
I mean, you just have to be very honest, because most of the time, well, I guess to backtrack a little bit, it's really easy because I grew up, just a little backstory, I grew up with very strong women in my life too, so they are very opinionated. So I learned basically how to almost push my emotions under the rug, because it was just easier to not have to worry about it, because whatever, they'll take it over, right? And I've shared this with him before. So I learned that and adapted that with other relationships too, where, like, I would go for stronger women and I would just let them, like, I wanted to give them the world, just, make sure that they're treated like queens, and make sure that they're very well taken care of. And so I had to translate that over time, because I realized I would make them into my mom in a way, and they would just take the reins at times. And I was like, okay, this is not beneficial, because I'm not also being heard. I'm not expressing what actually is deep inside. And so the last couple of years, I've had to really just look in the mirror and be like, okay, how do you actually communicate in a way that they'll be able to understand, and also will actually be my authentic self too. So for me, I just really have to be open up front, and I am very good. I'm an avoidant attachment person. So now I just address it off the bat, because you can kind of just look the other way, because I always try to see the good in people. And not to say that's not the case, but if you don't address it off the bat, it's going to just be one more thing to add to the to-do list, So
yeah, I would say there's probably always a to-do list, to be honest.
Right.
Always.
Yeah. And it's like, just because there's a to-do list does not mean, like, you necessarily have to feel like you have to do everything too, right?
Or feel exhausted by it either, necessarily.
That's a big thing, is taking on that energy. And that's one of the things, like, because I am very intuitive, and because I've had a lot of traumas, I easily get overwhelmed. And it's funny because me and Albert have worked together for so long. When I date somebody, I have to be very clear and concise and be like, hey, look, I get emotionally overwhelmed. It's no disrespect to you, and it's not that I don't love you immensely, but there are times where I need to just go in the room and I need you to not talk to me. I just need to be at peace with myself and process emotions and feelings and just be
like recharge.
I have to recharge a lot, just because I constantly read the room. I constantly read energies. I take on, even though people don't always know it, I constantly take on people's energies or whatever. And so it's easily to get overwhelmed. So let me ask you this. What do you look for, or what are things that you look for now in a person that you're looking to date or have dated? So we'll go.
Don't take the reins first. I mean, you're already in a relationship, but what have you learned from the do's and don'ts?
It's so funny. Yeah, I would say like who I was before is vastly different than who I am now. I mean, you had asked me earlier like something about like a funny breakup, and I was thinking, well, I don't claim any of my exes, so I don't have any breakup stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say like what I look for now is good communication. Like we talked about, being open with your emotions. Somebody who also is able to self-reflect and self-analyze and set those boundaries. But still being able to be, you know, loving and patient and open-minded. That's a big thing because there's a lot that comes with taking me on, you know? And that's not just in like a romantic relationship. That could be in any relationship, you know? So I would say those are my top key things. You would have asked me like 5-10 years ago, probably a little different.
Yeah, it's pretty funny how many people don't reflect on like their daily life, whether it's like keeping a journal or just like taking a moment for themselves.
We're real quick with others, right? To analyze others, judge others. And I get it. And we're all human. We all do it. But yeah, it's a different ballgame when you're able to really catch yourself. Yeah.
So I know for me, it's funny. I talked earlier about this, and it's crazy. The difference between dating before I was healed, where I was super toxic. Like I've always been a very loving, caring person, and always had good, pure intentions. But I'm just gonna keep it real. Like I was toxic. Like I didn't know. I grew up in chaos, so I didn't know what love was. I didn't know what it was like to be in a relationship. Like my dad beat my mom. So like, not that I ever was a woman beater. That's something I'm so against.
But when you're around the craziness, it comes out in other ways.
Well, you don't know what a relationship is supposed to be. You don't know what it is to be loving and caring other than people pleasing. And that's where it caused me self-hatred, because I was the person that was giving, and nothing was ever good enough because I was so toxic. I was attached to relationships with toxic people.
Yeah.
Because when you hold all of this self-doubt, all these traumas and all of these things, you think that you're unworthy of being loved. You think you're unworthy of being able to have a voice. You think you're unworthy of being heard. So you just, like you said, you give, and you don't know what it is to take. So going back to now, it's funny dating in relationships. Again, not to harp on, but, you know, being sexually assaulted, I was taught at a young age to sexualize everything. I was taught at a young age that my only self-worth or thing that I was good enough for was sex. And so it made me a whore. It made me a thought, because I felt like every female that I met, I had to show them that I was worthy of being loved by giving them sexual energy, which is the complete opposite of what you should look for in a relationship. Some of my greatest sexual energies have come from the most toxic people, which is usually the best thing, because that's, like I said, people that are like, so going back, it's funny dating now that I am knowledgeable of my emotions. I am able to self-reflect. I am able to look at what I can give a person in a relationship. And it's not just a sexual energy. It's, I'm very loving, I'm caring, I'm very open to listening, I'm very attentive. I want to, please, but I also now know what it is to be open and say what my needs are, what my wants are, what my emotional needs are, what, all of those things. And it's funny, Since I've been healed, I've dated 3 different times, and of those 3, it was all based off of, like, one of them I had to stop dating because she wanted, like, relations all the time. And I was like, hey, I don't want to open up a sexual interest. Like, we just met. Like, I want to get to know you. And it's funny now that we think about it, because those, I want bigger than just that. That is important. But I want emotional security. I want mental security. Like, I want somebody that when I've had a tough day or something is heavy on my heart, I can come home and talk about and not have to feel judged, not have to feel like you're going to tell me what I should do or should think. You're just going to listen and be a ear for me to spill to. So it's crazy. Whereas before, the things that I look for, I thought that were important at the grand scheme of now are also a hindrance, because it's hard to date, because a lot of women, especially in my age demographic, have a lot of toxicity, and that's not any judgment. We all are toxic one way or the other. Let's just keep it 100. But it's being able to acknowledge toxic traits and correct them, or do your best to be and do better with those vices or whatever. So it's hard dating in these days and times, because people still have that mindset. Like, there's not a lot of women who want to hear you talk about, like, traumas, or want to hear about, hey, these things hurt my feelings. Like, they just want gifts, or they want this, or they want that. And so it's harder dating now. But those are the things that I look for. Like, I need someone who can give me all of the things that before weren't important. Like, I need emotional security, and you can usually tell those things right away, and get rid of those people. So, going to you, what do you look for? You're the young and tender in the group.
There's a lot to that too, because you mentioned even before, like, how do you feel safe essentially in a relationship? It's the best thing about our generation is, like, we're learning all this on the fly and rapidly. So we
also have a lot more resources, though.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. Yeah. The internet is amazing for that. So now there's all these, like, new ways that we can actually branch out and feel the stuff that we really want to feel. Like you said, your age demographic, it's different. It's new. It's unexpected. People are used to chaos. They're used to doing things on the fly,
sweeping it under the rug.
Right.
All these different things that pile up. And so it's probably, and you've mentioned this before to me, it's probably really hard for people that you're meeting, because they're used to being in this chaotic environment where it's so uncommon for it to be normal. Like, we want either chaos or straight structure, but sometimes it's okay to have the plateau, and it just feels odd when there's not something exciting.
Yeah.
That can be chaotic.
That's what I was like when I was saying earlier. If you would have asked me like 5-10 years ago, it'd be vastly different. I feel like I used to always say, like, I'll never be comfortable with comfortability. Man, that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
Because no, like, you need that comfortability. How else are you gonna function? You can't. I mean, you can say I function in chaos, but everybody's got the breaking point.
I don't think people function in chaos. I think people survive in chaos.
Right.
And that's where
we trick ourselves to think we function
that's
in
where
it.
that's where we're like, oh, it, like, I hear some people talk sometimes, and it's crazy because they're like, oh, I thrive in chaos, and I thrive. No, bro, you don't.
Right.
You don't thrive.
They need something to sugarcoat it. So that's what we say. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not thriving in chaos. You are surviving in chaos and riding a wave.
Right.
And sometimes you have to fake it to make it to be able to survive. So, I mean,
Especially
it's not like shame on people that are out there trying to get through their chaos.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just know it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
It's good in the beginning. It's kind of like you need to identify something and just understand, like, this is not going to be long term. But like you said, if you got to make it for just today or tomorrow, fuck it. Just do it. And then once you actually build those skills and understand, hey, this is not sustainable for a really long time, then you start to build the foundations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult, man. You have to literally feel it. And especially as guys, like, I resonate a lot when you were saying, like, there's, even when girls say that there's a safe space, you have to, I've learned that you every day is a new day.
Yeah.
So, like, you really have to build the foundations every single day. That means you also yourself have to go back into the dark corners. And it could just be the small little nugget. You have to figure out what the fuck's going on underneath. And that involves with your relationship with yourself and with your significant other too.
Would you or have you ever done, like, couples therapy?
With therapy for me, we're in different. We're in different like lifestyles. So I've had a pretty like easier childhood. So with me, I think you can self therapy yourself.
Okay.
I understand with someone that's been through different. It's so necessary. So the couples therapy, I guess, is good to have like a third party. Mm-hmm. But if you address everything as soon as possible in a healthy way, I think it's possible for you to figure it out on your own. You're going to have to be each other's therapist at one point. So
for sure,
for me, I think it's not necessary unless you absolutely need a third party.
I have gone. It's funny because my second marriage, the one that really broke me in half, is I came to realize I had been sexually assaulted or whatever. And so it made sense to me why certain tendencies and traits were what they were. My ex was an avoidant personality. And I think deep down under all of the layers, I think she has a pure heart, but I think she's so caught up in not healing and blaming everybody else that it's hard for her to see past herself. And so it's Billy and me, and it's the other ex-husband, and it's the other ex-husband that were the problems instead of her. So to go back, yeah, we had problems within the relationship, and for me, I felt like I loved her, and I was like, you know what? Let's heal together. Like, let's do this together. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to be the one like, hey, I'm healing, but you know, you're doing whatever. Like, and I think in a relationship, I think you need to be on the same wavelength. Like, you can't have one person that is on a health kick, but then the other person is like a foodie. That just is not. I mean, you can, but it's. I mean,
everybody goes through different phases of life.
Yeah, I mean, you do, but like with.
You mean like lifestyle?
Yeah,
beginning to end.
Where like she was an avoidant personality, and so she would. This is what she would do. So, I would say, hey, you know what? We're having these problems, right? And rather than she would. Like the budget, she wanted to do a budget. I grew up without a budget. Like, I grew up poor white trash. So like, we didn't have a budget. If we had money, we was eating, and like we was eating good. And then when we didn't have money, we was like, hey, we're gonna have to make
some more money.
We're gonna have to make some mayonnaise sandwiches. Like, it just was what it was. So we didn't know the budget, or we didn't know. And so she grew up the same way, but we were on two different wavelengths. She was very adamant about budgeting and having things a certain way. I was still a people pleaser. So I was trying to learn what she wanted, but there was a never-ending gobstopper of what it is that she wanted. She was never going to be appeased because she wanted every reason why not to be there, because she was uncomfortable being in love. She was uncomfortable in having somebody that said, hey, rather than having chaos, let's go get help. Let's go get somebody that can tell us what we can do to be and do better for one another.
Yeah.
And individually. So I was going to individual therapy.
Okay.
And then I was like, hey, let's go. But she would do stuff like, man, we would go to one therapy session and she would pick something out like the budget. I forgot to add a $50 meal on the budget. You know what? I'm done. No more therapy. I'm moving. And she would literally, she would literally move her stuff out and go get a place in LA. She was from Santa Fe Springs. She would literally move out and go get something in Santa Fe Springs. The reason being, now looking at it, because at the time, you got to think, somebody who felt unworthy, felt unloved, felt all of these things, I kept taking it on as it was me. I kept taking it on like, I'm not good enough. So she's just leaving because I'm not good enough. So it became like this self-hatred. But now looking at it, there was nothing that was ever going to be good enough, because she wanted every reason to move. So the budget, it wasn't that the budget wasn't correct, or it wasn't that I did something right or I did something wrong, which I did do things wrong. I did some things right, did some things wrong. But she was always looking for it. So we would go to one therapy session and she would be like, hey, you know what? The budget's wrong. I'm moving. And she would leave and move. And so
you got to put the work in. Yeah.
Yeah. So then she would come back. And you know what? I love you. I want to be with you. Okay. And so then I would be like, but we got to go to therapy because I'm tired of living like this.
Right.
I'm tired of being comfortable with chaos. I'm tired of feeling like I need to go hook up with another chick so that I can feel loved and wanted. Like I shouldn't. I don't want to feel like I need somebody else to validate me. And that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so I would go back to exes. I would go to anybody. It didn't matter what they looked like. It didn't matter if none of that stuff. If they were giving me attention and feeding, this is how toxic I was. I felt so unworthy of life. And I felt so undeserving of loving that anybody that would give me attention, anybody that would say, hey, you know what, you are a good guy, I would automatically give myself to them. And so going back, she would come back and I'd be like, hey, we got to go to therapy. We'd go to one therapy session. This time it wouldn't be the budget. It would be, oh, well, I didn't like the way that you shopped at the store this time. And so it became this back and forth. And so, yeah, going back, I'm in therapy now. I still go to therapy. I strive each day to be and do better. If I ever get to a point where in a relationship, I feel like I need therapy, I'm not above and I don't have all of the answers. I'm really good at a lot of things, but I'm not good at some things. And I'm okay with being not okay at certain things. So I would 100% try therapy rather than just throwing away a relationship. Now, in the same sense, is a relationship that you're in worth going through all of that work? And that's where we talked about before, both of you brought up, it goes back to, self-revelation as well. Like, is this what I really want? Because sometimes it's not what we really want. It's what we think we need, but ultimately it's not what's best for us. Like, you'll have some people that'll be like, just be honest with me. No, boo, you can't handle it.
Right. Yeah.
And
that'd be worse than what it is now. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why I tell people all the time, when you deal with me and you say, hey, just be honest with me, I give the disclaimer. Girl, guy, whatever. If you ask me to give you the truth, are you okay with hearing the truth? Because a lot of times people say they want the truth.
They don't want it.
But as the movie said, you can't handle the truth. So if you ask me, I'll give you my input, but don't get mad at me because I tell you, hey, you know what? That boyfriend that you're saying you really want, girl, he's not the one.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and some people, I've had friendships that have, we're no longer friends because hey, tell me what you think about my girl. Bro, your girl's a thought. Your girl hits on me when you ain't around. Your girl is probably hitting on our other friend while you're not around.
And not friends as well.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
She's not the one.
Yeah.
And some people just can't handle, because again, we feel like or think that we need certain things, and that's not really what we want. So,
Do you think people want the truth?
No, not at all. I think most of us are okay with living in our own delusion.
and see, that's
I mean, we think as human beings, I think we have all the answers with all of our technology and all this. And no, we don't.
all our
Not even
TikToks.
close. Not even close. Right. Yeah, no, not even close.
I agree with you 100%. I think that people feel like they want 100% transparency, but I don't think people all the way want that, because sometimes that means that we have to look in the mirror when we don't want to look in the mirror. And that's a hard thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I will say when you put in the work and get over that like hump, I mean, it's more fun though,
No,
It's more exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
just lay it on the table. Just let it be.
Well, see, so going back to that, I know we've had this conversation because I'm very open and transparent. And so I'm the type of person, it's funny because we talk, and I'm the type of person, I'm an open book from the jump. There's no whatever. I'm very, and the reason that I'm like that is I ain't got no time. Look, here's the deal. I got 5 kids. I got 3 baby mamas. 2 of them are still alive. RIP to one of them. I've been through a lot of chaos. I work daily to get better, but I still have a lot of things that I emotionally work through, and that's a lot. And so the reason I'm very upfront and honest on the front end is because, look, I don't want to waste your time, just like I don't want my time to be wasted. So I could tell you all of the good foo-foo stuff. I got these cute kids, because I do. And hey,
Yes,
I'm in therapy, and I'm doing this, and this. But in the same sense, I also feel like I need to be very upfront, because I don't want to waste somebody else's time making them think that I'm something that I'm not. I hid in the shadows, and I lived an inauthentic life for so long that once you break those chains, I can't hide in the shadows anymore. So I tell people up front, look, here's what's going on. All of this is this. If you want to date me, you can date me. If not, cool. You can go on about your business. If you just want to go to eat a couple of times and hang out, I'm cool with that too. Let's just be upfront, honest, and transparent on the front end, so that on the back end, nobody's in their feelings about it. Because I'm not.
You ain't got time for that.
No, I don't. I'm too old for that.
Would you consider yourself an open book?
Yeah, especially with this.
I'm the most raw. For the ones in the back, I'm the most raw, authentic, true to heart people.
Babe, I know you are.
Yeah.
I asked him.
You? Are you?
I am when people ask. People don't. I don't think people want to know anymore, though. I've realized that, because I've with significant others, I will now be like, hey, I need to be honest with you, or else this isn't gonna work. Because a lot of times, I actually had a question. I was watching. Have you seen the movie Interstellar before?
Yes.
So I don't know if you remember or not. There's a comic relief robot in there, And in one scene with Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway, basically, Matthew McConaughey like is super blunt with Anne Hathaway's character, and the robot is like super funny, and he's like, humans don't want the truth, they only want about 85% of honesty. And so I asked this question to like a lot of significant others of mine, or like more like potentials, right? Is how honest do you want me to be with you? Because this will dictate the trajectory of the future relationship. Because I had to learn with myself, I need to be as close to 100%, if not 100% honest with myself. You're still gonna have your delusions, right? That's just life. And then your significant other has to be somewhere between 93 to 99% honest, and your friends in that same realm, and everyone else, whatever.
Right.
Because if you just start going around spouting honesty with people, it's going to be unsolicited, right? And with women,
I'm very unsolicited.
yeah. And so
That's
He
right,
talks
yeah.
about me all the time.
but like with women though, if you do that, they say they want it, and sometimes they'll spout it back, but when you dish it, they get in their feelings very much. And that's because either they've dealt with ex-boyfriends, fathers, people in their life that have basically like, they'll feel oppressed, they feel like they're just getting like shit on because everyone just gives their opinion about them. Granted,